Hi students. First thing I'm going to have you do is open up an image. Today we're going to work with selection tools. So we're going to go to File, Open. You're going to go to the P drive. For this image we're going to go to Fall 2014. You're going to go to Oregon. Go to Photography 1. Digital Images. Fruitman 1. Okay, before I begin, I'm going to set up my workspace the way I want it. I'm going to make my tools a double strand. And I'm going to make sure my history palette is out over here. If I don't see it, the quick way to bring it out is go to the drop-down menu window and click History. I also want to pull my Navigator palette out, so I'm going to go to Window and click Navigator. And then you'll have that out as well. I'm going to drag that out so I can see it. Okay, so here we go. My suggestion to you with this podcast is if you get lost with anything I'm doing, stop, pause, undo it, and try it again. So to begin, let's understand what marching ants mean. If I have marching ants around an object, it means that the area within those marching ants is selected, which means that I can edit it, I can move it, I can change the size of it. So let's get started and see how to do that. When you have marching ants, if you want them to go away, you're going to press Control D, and that will get those marching ants to go away. So let's get started by zooming in. Right here on the bottom right is your zoom tool. Go ahead and zoom in to the caret. The first tool we're going to work with is called the Elliptical Marquee tool. Remember, there are hidden tools whenever you see a black triangle. I'm going to click the Elliptical Marquee tool. When you are selecting using this tool, you want to have your pointer or your mouse touch the object you're trying to select, and you're going to click and drag. You'll see the marching ants expand in a circular motion. But here's a trick. Before you release your mouse, press the space bar. This will allow you to reposition your marching ants. So I'm going to reline up my left side and make it line up with the border of my caret. Now I'm going to release my space bar, and I'm going to keep my finger on the mouse and continue to grow the selection. Once you have marching ants around your caret, we're going to zoom back out. There's a couple ways to do it, but I'm going to show you one of my favorites. Double click the hand tool, and then it'll allow you to zoom out. This top right tool, it's called your Move tool. Click it. With your cursor inside, you'll see that your cursor has scissors. You're going to drag it and drop it. This is going to become a face, so this actually is the bottom part of the eyeball. Now we still have marching ants around here, so while I do that, I'm going to show you how to make a duplicate of this selection. If you hold the Alt key, your Move tool becomes a Move tool with two flags. So when I drag, look at that, I have a duplicate of my selection. Now I want those marching ants to go away. There's a couple ways to do it, but the quickest way is Control D as in dog. Now I have my two eyes. I'm going to use my elliptical marquee, but this time I'm going to use it a little different, and I'm going to get the blueberry. So let's zoom into that blueberry. One of the things you can use your Navigator palette for that I like, so come with me over here, is that within the Navigator palette you have a thumbnail. You see your whole picture, but you have this little red box which shows you where you're at within the picture. It's kind of nice. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my elliptical marquee, put my cursor in the center. This time, instead of selecting from the edge, I'm going to have you select from the inside out. So you're going to hold the Alt key. We're going to click. With the Alt key held, we're going to drag down and out. And we're going to grow our selection. I'm going to release the mouse first and then Alt. Double click my hand tool to zoom out. Now this time, instead of moving my blueberry with the move tool, I'm going to start to make a new layer. You're going to see the importance of layers as you go along. Click on the drop-down menu layer, choose new, and you're going to select layer via copy. Your marching ants will go away, but don't worry, let me show you what just happened. I have my move tool. There's my blueberry. So I'm going to drag it and I'm going to dot my eye with a little pupil. I want to make a duplicate here. So guess what key I'm going to press? You got it right. I'm going to hold the Alt key and now I'm going to make a duplicate. Now let's explain what layers are. This is a good time. Look at the bottom right of your screen and you're going to see a layers palette. Right now our picture has 3 layers. Layers are like pieces of tracing paper with artwork on them. That's a good way to think of it. The eyeball indicates layer visibility. So let's look at our layers individually. If I click this eyeball, my right blueberry goes away. If I click this eyeball, my left one went away. If I click the bottom one, you see a checkerboard. A checkerboard represents transparency. So think of these like pages. The background is a bottom piece of paper. Layer 1 is that one blueberry. Look what happens when I turn the visibility off the background layer. See, it's just a blueberry. The key with working with layers is knowing which layer is selected. If I have layer 1 selected, then this is the active layer. So I'm going to get my move tool, and if I want to move this blueberry, I have to be on that layer. Now here's another question. How do you know which layer it is? It's very hard to see these little thumbnail pictures. So I'm going to show you a trick. Put your cursor on one of your layers and right-click your mouse. It'll tell you what that layer is called. See, this blueberry here is called layer 1. So if I click on it, here's layer 1. Let's go to the other blueberry. Right click. This is called layer 1 copy. If I click this, it just made layer 1 copy my active layer. So just remember that moving forward. From this point on, every selection you make, I want you to make it a new layer. So now let's move on to another part. I'm a little bored of the Marquee tools. Let's start going into the Lasso tools. So right click on these Lasso tools. With your Lasso tools, you have 3 of them. You have the freehand lasso tool, which is equivalent to drawing, a polygon lasso tool, which is great for straight edges, and a magnetic lasso tool, which is going to attract to contrasting edges or colors. So I'm going to show you each one. We're going to start with the freehand lasso tool, but before I begin, I want to zoom in. To zoom in, I'm going to get my zoom tool, and this time I'm going to zoom into these radishes. I'm going to use my freehand lasso tool. And with lassos, what you want to do is you want to end your selection at the exact point where you began it. So I'm just going to make kind of a sloppy selection. And so you'll see when I end my selection, notice the circle that I get when I touch my edge. I'm having a hard time finding my edge. I'm going to let go of my mouse. Let me try that again. Control D to deselect. Let me try that again so you can see exactly what I mean. If I click and drag to close my selection, you're going to see a little circle appear. Now I'm working on a Mac and you're working on a PC, so it's possible my Mac isn't showing that circle. Yours will. So I'm going to quickly select my radishes. Again, students, remember, if I am going too fast or you make a mistake, the beauty of this video is you can pause me and start again, okay? All right, so I have my marching ants. We're going to make a new layer. Layer, new, layer via copy. Now, you're going to get this error. I made that happen on purpose, or at least I made you think I did. It says, could not make a new layer from the selection because the selected area is empty. Okay, look in the layers palette and notice the active layer is layer 1 copy. If you remember from before, layer 1 copy was my what? Blueberry. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to select the background layer. because that's the layer with all the schmutz or the vegetables and fruit on it. So now I'm going to go to Layer, New, Layer via Copy. My marching ants go away. Double click the hand tool. Get that Move tool. And let's go ahead and move this on over to my eyes. Okay. Now, I want to make a duplicate of this. So what key am I going to press? Alt. Now I have another eyebrow. Something seems wrong here. This eyebrow should be flipped the other way. Let me show you how to do that. If I go to the drop-down menu, Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. Boom. Now my eyebrow is exactly where I want it. So now we can have a little fun with this. We're starting to have a lot of layers, but we can give our little face personality. Nothing wrong with that. So if you're like me, I like my eyebrows, what do you guys say, on fleek? So I'm going to change the size of it. Edit, Transform, Free Transform. You're going to see a box go around the layer that you have active. In this case, it's Layer 2 Copy. Let me show you what this does. It's pretty cool. You can resize your selection or your layer by grabbing a corner, hold the Shift key, and you can proportionally make it bigger or smaller. If I don't hold Shift, I'm going to skew it and it's not going to be proportionate. So I really like to hold Shift when I'm doing something like this. But if you're going to change the size of it, like we are going to do, because I want my eyebrows nice and thin, I'm going to actually grab an edge instead, make my eyebrow nice and curved, bring the inside in a little bit. Need to thicken that up a little bit. And now I want to give it kind of an angle. If you put your cursor on the outside, you can turn it. Looks kind of like a chicken leg, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to turn this one. Now, I like the way this eyebrow looks. So I'm going to hit Enter to commit my changes. I don't like this eyebrow anymore. So what I would like to do here is get rid of it. So I don't remember what the layer is called, but if I right-click on it, it tells me it's called Layer 2. I'm going to go ahead and delete Layer 2 because I don't like it. So I'm going to drag it to the garbage, bottom right of the Layers palette. And now it's gone. Instead now, I'm going to click on my eyebrow layer, which is Layer 2 Copy. I'm going to make a duplicate of it. I'm going to hold the Alt key, make a duplicate, and I'm going to flip this one. Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And there I go. Now we don't want to leave our eyebrows connected. I look like Frida Kahlo. Let's leave one eyebrow up, and you guys can imagine I'm giving you the stink eye right now. Okay, moving forward. Next thing we're going to learn about is the Polygon Lasso tool. So right-click on your lassos, or click that little black arrow. Okay, your Polygon Lasso. This lasso works to select straight edges. So what you're going to do with this is you click your mouse one time. That little circle is an anchor that you dropped. Don't hold your mouse click down, but just drag. And I'm going to click because I'm about to change directions. So I just dropped another anchor. And I'm just going to go around zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag. And you can, it doesn't have to be exact. It's up to you what you want this to look like. But now when I go to the edge, there's that little circle I was talking about earlier. I met where I began, I click, and I get marching ants. Now this is just a warning. I'm going to deselect this. This may happen to you. It happens to the best of people. So kids start clicking, and instead of releasing the mouse, they accidentally drag. And then sometimes this happens. And then the kid says, Miss Morgan, what's happening? Don't worry if this happens to you. Very easy way to get out of it. You could delete one at a time, and it'll go back by each click you made. Or you could double click your mouse deselect, Control D, and start it again. Okay, so I'm going to go through that process again. I'm going to make a goofy bow tie. Okay, so now rather than moving it, I'm going to make a new layer, layer, new, layer via copy. Uh-oh, empty layer. Got to make sure I'm on the active layer with the schmutz background layer. Try again. Layer, new, layer via copy. Get your move tool. Move it on over. Now, I want mine to be a girl. You decide. Maybe you want it to be a boy with a bow tie down there. However you want it, it's up to you. Notice, though, right now, why is this going underneath those other pieces of fruit? Remember that idea that I told you? Layers are like pieces of paper with individual artwork on them. That's why it's underneath. If I wanted this bow on top of those radishes, all I would do is go in the Layers palette and change the stacking order and place them on top. See? I'm going to drag this bow tie up to the top because I want this to be on top of everything. Okay. I'd like my bow a little bigger, so how can I change the size of it? Edit, free transform. There's that bounding box. Let's give it a little angle. I might want to make it bigger. I'm going to hold shift because I don't like things disproportionate. Now I want to squish it a smudge. There you go. I think she looks cute. I'm going to press enter. And it's committed. Okay, moving on. Next lasso. The next tool that we're going to get is the magnetic lasso. Okay, magnets attract. And in this case, what I'm going to do is attract to the contrast of the orange rind of the grapefruit, the fruit part from the rind. So let's go ahead and zoom into our grapefruit. Get your magnetic lasso. I'm going to click my mouse and drop an anchor. This is pretty cool because it's selecting, it's dragging, it's connecting, attracting to the contrast. Now, if you want, you can drop an anchor by doing a mouse click and be real specific about it. When I use this tool, I don't go very fast. I take my time. Photoshop is cool because it allows you to select right down to the pixel. For sure, before I change directions here, I'm going to click and drop an anchor. You'll see that square every time you drop an anchor. Now I have to go back to where I started, just like the rest of the lassos. When I see my circle, I'm good to go. I'm going to double click my hand tool. I need to make a new layer from this. Make sure I'm on the background layer. I'm going to hit layer, new, layer via copy, get my move tool, drag my fruit over to my face. I'm going to rotate this now so that it's going the right direction because our ears don't stick out of our head like this. So where do I go? Edit, free transform. Notice here it shows quick keys, Control T. That's another way to get that bounding box around if you want to go quick keys. So I'm going to line my ear up and get it where I want it to go. That looks pretty good. I'm going to press enter, make a duplicate of this ear. So I'm going to get the move tool, hold the Alt key, click it, drag it, drop it off. I have to flip it. Edit, transform, flip horizontal. And now I'll line it up. Okay, now let's break bad habits before they start. This is the thing that's going to separate you from an amateur to a professional real quick. When we have ears on our face, they don't stick out of the side in our head. They kind of sit back on our heads. So what I want to do is make the illusion that this part is behind, that it's not laying on top. So I'm going to show you a trick for this. So follow me and go with it. Try it. Click on your background layer. Right click, second tool down, right side. And select the QuickSelect tool. with the background layer selected, select your melon head. Yes, you'll notice it did do a very quick selection, and I'll get back to that tool in a little while. But for now, watch this trick, you're going to love it. I want to delete the part of my layer so that it looks like the grapefruit is lining up behind the melon's head. So I'm going to click layer 3 copy because that's my right ear, and I'm going to erase this part away so it lines up perfectly. Go in your toolbox, find your eraser tool, 6th tool down left side, and I'm going to delete with my eraser. If you're wondering, how did I make my brush big so quickly? If you right bracket, your brush gets bigger. If you left bracket, these are on your keyboard, it'll get smaller. So now I need to clean up this side, but I need to be on that layer. That was called layer 3, my other ear. Your layers may be called something different at this point. But either way, remember that trick that you could right click on that piece and then it'll tell you what layer it is. But if you look at this, it looks like the ears are positioned correctly. So it gave the illusion of overlapping when that didn't really happen. So now I'm going to deselect, Control D, and then away go my marching ants. Okay, we're going to move on. The next tool I'm going to select is going to be the, let's see, I'm going to take the magic wand tool now. Right click on that quick select tool, and let's go to the magic wand tool, which is hidden underneath it. Again, guys, I'm having trouble getting underneath because of my Mac. I don't have a right click button on my mouse, so I'm trying to do this on the keypad. Okay, so I'm going to get my quick select tool, magic wand tool. The magic wand tool is pretty cool because what it does is select based on color, and it selects based on values of color. For example, highlights or shadows. Go ahead and zoom into this piece of fruit. I think it's a pear or a squash. Could never figure out what it is. I'm going to get my magic wand tool, and I'm going to click on my pear. I'm going to call it a pear. Notice that it only selected kind of the middle value yellow, or this yellowish mustard color. Well, I'm going to show you how to change that. One way to change it is if you look in this bar underneath the drop-down menus, look for the word tolerance. Right now the tolerance is set at 32. Change it to 72. Click again and watch. It gets more of your pear. It's growing the tolerance that it has to select a range of color. So whatever color is left over, I'm going to show you a quick way to select it. And by the way, what I'm about to teach you goes for all selection tools. So hold the Shift key. You're going to notice your magic wand becomes a magic wand with a plus. So now look at that. I was easily able to select more of my pear. I'm going to Control D to deselect. Actually, Command, yeah. Okay. I just want to prove to you how Shift will help you add to a selection and Alt will get it to take away. I'm going to click back on my magic wand for a second. And I'm going to use my magic wand. Sorry, my magnetic lasso. It's getting late. I'm getting punchy. And notice it got most of my pear, but not all of it. If I wanted to add to it, again, press Shift, and my selection tool becomes a tool with a plus. So I can use this, circle what I want to add, and it adds it to it. Now the opposite, I'm going to go back to the magic wand. The opposite of Shift is Alt. So let's say, like for example here, I accidentally went outside of the pear. I don't want that area outside of the pear. I'm going to zoom in. This is the cool thing about Photoshop. I can see right down to the pixel. I'm going to click back on my magic wand, hold the Alt key. Now it becomes a magic wand with a minus. See, it took it away. So Shift lets you add, Alt lets you take away. So go ahead and get as good of a selection of your pear as you can get. Okay, I'm going to hold shift so I can clean that up. There I go. Now I want to move this. This is going to become my nose. So I'm going to go to edit. Sorry, excuse me, layer, new, layer via copy. Before I move it over, I'm going to get my move tool. Click, drag, drop it off. Now I have a big nose, so I'm going to change the size of this nose. So I can do edit, free transform, or Control T if you like. I'm going to grab from the middle and make it long and pointy because it's funny. I'm going to press enter to apply. And now I'm going to get the kiwi. This time, instead of using the magic wand, I'm going to use the QuickSelect tool. Now, I don't want any of you to get mad at me, but the QuickSelect tool was not invented in the earlier versions of Photoshop. Only these other selection tools were here. So when you see how easy this selection tool works, you're going to get annoyed. But I'm glad you still learned how to use the other ones. So the QuickSelect works by painting a selection. So literally, all you have to do, let's zoom into this kiwi. Get your QuickSelect tool. Don't get annoyed now. Click on your background layer. I want the kiwi, and I go click, boom, I have the kiwi. If you wanted to add to your selection, what key do you press? You guessed it, Shift adds. If you want to subtract, Alt. But let me show you a trick, and in good habits, guys. I don't want to have this gray part around my kiwi, so I'm going to take the border of my brush and rub it against what I do want, while most of it is on what I don't want. I'm going to press Alt, click, and it'll clean it up for you pretty quickly. I don't want these, I'm holding Alt. Okay, so my selection is good. Double click my hand tool to zoom out. I'm going to make a new layer, layer, new, layer via copy. Get my move tool. And there, now my mouth is yelling at you and he's going, woo. You can see my kiwi is underneath my nose. It looks like the nose is overlapping. Again, how did that happen? Well, my nose is layer 4. And if you notice, layer 4 is on top of layer 5. If I want the kiwi to be on top, I would drag it, drop it, and it would appear on top. But I actually like it the other way, so I'm going to undo that. And one way to undo, my history palette. Click on the step above, and boom, I can undo. If you would like, you can go ahead and grab this mushroom. Uh-oh, wrong layer. Click on the background layer. I'm going to go ahead and grab this mushroom. I don't want any of this. I'm going to press Alt and get rid of what I don't want here. Remember what I said, brush up against what you want. Leave the majority of the brush, though, against what you don't want. Now, you can get real specific here to clean this up. Just go ahead and zoom in a little bit. You could use your navigator palette and then use your scroll bar so you can see. Go back to your QuickSelect tool. I want to add to this, so I'm going to hold Shift. Okay. That's good enough for what I want to do. I'm going to make a new layer from this. Layer, new, layer via copy. Double click my hand tool. And maybe I want this guy. If you wanted, this could be like a little chef hat. I'm going to make that a little different size, so I'm going to edit free transform or Control T. Smush my hat down a little bit. Rotate it. Here we go. Looks goofy, but I like it. I'm going to press enter. So we are done working with selection tools and learning the basics about layers. The last thing we need to do is crop out all the schmutz that we don't want. Let's show you how to do that. Go in your toolbox, grab your crop tool. And for cropping, if we wanted to print this, we would put a resolution at 300, but in this case, I know this image is not printable. So I'm just going to leave the height, width, and resolution blank. That will be in a new lesson that we try next time to crop. which means cut out. I'm going to click and drag around what I want to keep. You'll notice the background becomes black. And you press enter, and there you go. Now if you make a mistake, I'm going to try that again, but I'm going to make a mistake. Let's say I click and drag, and I say, uh-oh, that's not what I wanted. You could either grow your selection, or you could right-click, press cancel, and try it again. So let's do that one more time. I'm going to press enter, and voila, there I'm done. I have my fruit face. So this ends our selection tool lesson.